Vasudevendra Yogindram Natva Jnana Pradam Gurum Mumukshunam Hitarthaya Tattva Bodho Bhidiyate. So Dridha Nishchayaha, so I don't judge myself for this person that I'm wearing. I don't judge my clothes. I don't judge my my suit, my tie, all of these things that we come with. I don't judge it. This is an order. It's been given, and there is a level of responsibility to accept it. That's how it is. And now make the best use of your instrument. Make the best use of your instrument according to your talents, according to your abilities, according to your strengths. No more or less needs to be done than this. This is what we call a simple life, doing what needs to be done according to your unique talents, unique abilities, unique capabilities. And this is all that Lord Krishna is asking Arjuna, really, that is asking all of us what is to be done. So living in the light of knowledge also. And then now Jivanmukta, so this Jivanmukta, what does Jivanmukta mean? See, it means liberated while living. So now what is this liberation? When we say moksha, moksha has two terms, and the first term, definition of moksha, is freedom from what I am not, right? Freedom from all of the things that I am not. Freedom from shame, freedom from guilt, freedom from embarrassment, freedom from all of your things that you think you've done wrong, freedom from all the things you think you've done good, freedom from how smart you are, how not smart you are, freedom from all of these ideas from who you think you are. So when I said to you, hey, you are, I walk away. You are, walk away. Whatever comes after that, all of the narratives, freedom from all of that. Okay? So does this now mean it's supposed to stop? Does this mean those narratives are supposed to stop? No. Okay, this is the person is there. The person has his own, person is a product of many causes. So the person will continue to have these voices going on. So this means, going back, there is a level of responsibility to manage your mind, but at the same time recognize this mind can be managed up to a point, no more, no less, up to a point. And so now the objection comes. It says, so if a jivan, actually going back to moksha, so the first definition is freedom from what you are not, and the second definition is freedom, after death. Okay, so there's no more freedom from rebirth. There's no more coming and going. You're now enjoying your limitless self, So these are the two definitions of moksha. See, if it was just definition one, suppose moksha was definition one, then the question comes, then what's the point? So what? I'm just going to be free while alive. So this next time I get reborn and I have to go through this nonsense again? No thanks. I'd rather just go and have fun, right? So it has to be two definitions for moksha to have any real meaning. And therefore the second one is, yes, I was free while alive, but I continue to remain free while, after the body passes away and after the mind passes away, which is called your last breath. So therefore, moksha is two terms. And see, now objection comes up, and it says, so if Jivanmukta is liberated while living, does that not mean that living is just problems? So, the problems continue. Yeah, problems continue, of course. So that's no issue there. The problems continue. You're not going to have, suddenly people seeing you different. Oh, these are all imaginary ideas, right? how things change, things work out, things are suddenly, they were not okay, and now they're okay, and this is all imaginary notions. Everything is exactly the same because life doesn't care about who's liberated or not. Life only cares to facilitate everyone's equal survival, everyone's equal, working out their stuff. So life doesn't judge and say, there's a great example that says, if a mosquito is thirsty and it wants to bite, it will bite a saint as much as a sinner. Whether the saint dies, so what? Whether the sinner dies, so what? So life is a so what? Life doesn't say mosquito, no, don't bite the saint. They're teaching a lot of people, therefore you will restrict you deny people help. If a mosquito is to bite a saint will get malaria and die, no equal to a sinner. Therefore, this notion that somehow a saint is now protected from the winds of the world, this has to be re-looked into and come back down to earth. That's all we're saying. Come back down to earth. Life is neutral. There's no such thing as more or less. It's what our mind projects. Life is just neutral to facilitate everyone's survival here.
The avatars are a bit an exception. For example, Jesus knew more or less that he will be crucified.
I mean, I don't know what's it like for an avatar. I cannot quite analyze that. Maybe, right? Maybe. See, actually, you have a good point. See, some people have a very strong presence. They just have a strong presence around them. Something about them that they exude charm. They exude this sort of, they command respect. Something about them that just does this. And so maybe this much we can say about an avatar. That it's just felt, you just feel it. And so naturally people will sort of swarm over and ask him, hey, so tell us about you. And they will have a great influence. They will have impact, they will have charm, they will have charisma, they will have influence. This much I can say, no more, about an avatar. So another objection is, so Jivanmukta, should he not disappear? Should he or she not disappear? Because after all, when you get rid of the error, like the snake, right, you realize it's a rope, the snake leaves. So if the Jivanmukta, recognizes that I am not the body-mind, should not the body-mind disappear? So this is another notion. The reason is no. See, the reason is because we have two types of superimpositions. The first superimposition is called Ishvara Srishti. Ishvara Srishti. This is empirical reality, right? Empirical reality. And now, what kind of a superimposition is this? If you look at, I see the sun rising, okay? And I see it rising, oh wow, the sun is now going to set. And then I again see the sun rising and it's setting. And so this is, it seems like the sun is rising and setting. But now, what happens when someone tells me, no, it's not the sun that's rising and setting, it is, the earth that's rotating. But now, does this mean, so now what? I've destroyed the notion that the sun is rising and setting. That notion is destroyed. But does the sun continue to, what happens with the sun? It continues to rise and set. So this means Ishvara Srishti, you can only destroy a notion, but you will not affect the physical reality. If only your notion has straightened out. Okay? Or, we have examples of, Earth. Look at Earth. And this is why we have flat earthers, by the way. They look at Earth and they go, it's one straight thing, right? And so, and it looks straight to us also. It's okay, Radhika, you can come. No problem. Okay, so now the earth looks, straight. And then someone says to you, no, the world is, earth is not straight, it is round. And now your notion has collapsed, your notion has resolved. But you and I continue to see a perfectly flat world. So this means Ishvara, when it's an Ishvara Srishti superimposition, then the most I can do is remove a notional error. But despite the notional error being removed, the physicality, the physical world, does not get removed at all. The physical world continues exactly the same. Okay? So, and then we have, stars in the sky. I don't see the stars. Stars are not up. Yes, they are up, but because of the light, we cannot see the stars. So this means, again, yes, the stars are up there, and I don't have to see them. The stars are up there. I know they're up there. Notionally, I've destroyed the notion that the stars are not up there. I know the stars are up there, so this means, even though I know this now, that the stars are up, I don't see stars at all. So again, it is a notional correction. The notion gets removed, but the physical world continues exactly the same. So this means, if you bring this down to a Jivanmukta, now when I say the word Jivanmukta, it's nothing but Jiva Mukta. A plus, Jiva plus A plus M equals N. That's why we say Jivanmukta. So it's just Jiva Mukta. A one who is alive while living, liberated while living, So Jivanmukta, Jivanmukta is the same thing. So Jivanmukta, so this means when the notion is in reference to the body-mind, that notion is now I understand the body-mind, that's an error. That I am a body-mind, that is an error. So therefore, that notion has cognitively ended. Just like cognitively, the notion is ended that the earth is flat. That notion has ended, but the earth continues to be flat. So for a Jivanmukta, the notion that I am this much, I am this small person, that has cognitively ended, but what continues? The Jivanmukta's personality continues exactly like it always was right from the beginning of their life, which means that nothing changes. Same problems, same habits, same behaviors, same ups, same downs, same opinions, same non-opinions. Understand? Because your body mind is Ishvara Srishti, empirical reality. Whereas the second type of superimposition is Jiva Srishti. Now this reality you can collapse. This reality like snake and rope. Okay? So what happens? The snake is there, but when the snake ends, it is no longer there. So this means when it comes to Jiva Srishti, yes, it can end. It can totally end. Visually it can end. It can end through words, through I thought I heard something. It can end. But this is what an issue. But the body-mind, is it your imagination? Is the body? No. Therefore, the body-mind cannot end because it is not your imagination. It is Ishvara's, quote, imagination. It is Ishvara's, world. Therefore, most you can do is end your own personal notions. That's called Jiva Srishti. But your body still continues. Now, this is important because we often think, we get these big notions about a Jivanmukta, that they are somehow, got a halo, or they're special. They're special. Please get rid of these immature notions. It's not a question of special or non-special, just seeing things as they are. What does this mean? Hey, there's a body, the body's not going anywhere. It's the same personality like it always was. Obviously there's some maturity there, because to come to this knowledge, you have to know a little bit. You have to have some life experience, but there's no change in reference to behavior. You understand? No change in reference to how the person speaks, what they wear, how they look. In fact, ironically, if one were to get this knowledge and start dressing and sort of acting and speaking accordingly, then what would that imply? That small issue there. There's a slight issue there. It means that potentially I want to what? In a subtle, implicitly, I want to demonstrate how, you know, I have kind of stepped up. I've uplifted myself. Without saying it, it's a sophisticated, implicit way of doing it. We're very smart as adults. So again, see, the thing is, everything, the more normal the person is, the more, you know, down to earth they are, the more things are most likely as they should be, right? The moment you come up off the ground, then the notions start to come in and they convolute the whole understanding. Next verse. Brahmaivaham. Brahmaivaham. That's enough. Short verse here. Yeah, so it's still in reference to the wise person. We're still on the wise person. So what do they have? Aparoksha jnana. So this is, what does this mean? It means it's a direct statement. I am the cause of the jiva and the jagat, the universe. Jagat means the world, the whole world. So I am the cause. I am the cause of the jiva and the jagat. So now, this is what this aparoksha jnana, direct knowledge. You're not faking it, because when you make that, have that understanding, a lot of knowledge is backing that up. So it's not an affirmation, it's not shallow, it has some depth behind it. So this means, so if I am the cause, and all of the karmas, all of the consequences belong to the world, then, so this means that none of these karmas, none of these consequences, none of these bad things, good things, they don't belong to me. I've not done one good thing in my life. I've not, in my not my life, but my existence. I've not done one bad thing in my existence. What has done the virtues and the silliness? What has done that? It's the body, mind has done that. The person has done that, right? But what, I remain intrinsically free of the whole thing. So therefore, so what, Jivanmukta, now we have to bring, how is this person, how is it that they are free? What's the logic when we say a Jivanmukta is free and there's no more rebirth? What's the specific logic? How do we explain that? How do we justify that there is no more rebirth? And therefore, let's talk about the three karmas. Karmani kati vidhani, karmani kati vidhani, santiti chet, agami sanchita, prarabdha bhedena. So talks about here the three karmas. Now remember, this word karma can mean two things, right? It can mean an action, and it can also mean a result of action. So karma and karma phala. So this is an action, this is a karma, and now what is this karma doing? It produced a karma. Now what's the second karma? It produced a result. So karma, action has produced a karma. The action has produced a result, a karma phala. So this word result is karma phala. Phala just means fruit. So it's produced a result, a fruit. So now these karmas, you see, what does karma do? Karma is what holds us down. It's what binds us to samsara. Now, how is this so? Because, see, when you get a result of action, then what happens? I stand to gain. If you do something, then what I want to be there to experience the consequences. I want to enjoy what I've done yesterday. So if you build a house, you want to be there tomorrow to sleep in your house. So this means I stand to gain the benefits of my actions. I stand to continue to live, to experience the joys of my past actions. Therefore, karma produces a desire to keep living so that I can continue enjoying my previous hard work. I want my money back, man. So in other words, I want to live so that I can, all of that hard work, come on, I'm not throwing that away. I want to live and enjoy. Live and enjoy. It's simple. So now, how do you enjoy? Can you enjoy without a body? No, you need a body to enjoy. Now, obviously, your body doesn't last long enough. So obviously, a new body needs to get created to continue the unfinished business that you haven't enjoyed because the body just withered away. It just died away. So now, when you get a new body, what happens? You're still blessed by free will. So in order to now continue enjoying our yesterday's actions, we continue doing. Right? You continue doing. For every action, you get a consequence, but in every consequence, you want to participate in that consequence. And what is participation? It is karma. It is more action. And every action produces more results that are to be experienced again tomorrow. So, in other words, it's got this constant cycle of do, and then experience that. And in my experiencing, I do more, I participate in that result. And in that participation, I create more action. And those actions create more consequences, which will be there tomorrow. So it's like a nice, it's like a circle. Now, see, when it comes to an animal, see, we human beings we can produce and we can also exhaust. Now, when I say the word exhaust, it just means to, suppose you have a chocolate here and, you have a desire to eat this chocolate. Once you eat the chocolate, it means you have what? You have exercised your free will to select a chocolate versus water. You can select that because you got free will. I can select the chocolate or I can select water. So this free will now allows you to what? Number one, choose, but also I can take this chocolate and I can throw it at someone and I can hurt them. So now when you hurt someone, right, with your actions, then that's what's called, you generated papam. You've generated unwise deed. And this unwise deed will have to come back to you. Tomorrow I'll come here in the downstairs and they will come up to me and they will express their anger. And now I have to feel that in my body, how they were angry from where? From yesterday that I've thrown a chocolate at them. So this means, now same thing if I take this chocolate and I give it to you, and this is an act of goodwill. And then you say, oh, thank you. And then how do I feel when you appreciate the chocolate? I also feel good. So this means my choice had the power to produce a papam, an unwise, not feeling good consequence, and also a feeling good consequence, a papam and a punyam. Okay? Papa is what is a wise action that produces a feeling good, and I hope I said punyam. So punyam is a wise action that produces a feeling good. And a papam is an unwise action, whether it's a mistake, whether it's deliberate or undeliberate, either way, it's papam, that produces a guilt or some form of shame because it's not wise. Now, when it comes to animals, then they can only what we call exhausting. So they cannot create a new action. They're like a program. So the dog would just go and bury its bone. It would just go and fight with its neighboring brothers and sisters. but it doesn't incur any papam. It only exhausts papam. So this means, why are animals, what's the difference between a human being and an animal? A human being can generate and also exhaust. An animal can only exhaust. In fact, the only reason why animals get born is there's so much papam that it's just, create an animal and let it go through its business. You have a little kangaroo, goes on a roadkill, and it sounds like a cruel thing. Now, that's not the point. But the point is, animals are born why? Because they are helplessly just going through, their experience, and they're exhausting all of this papam. And then later on, they can come back as a jiva, as a human being. Now, to understand this, how do you go from animal to human being? So we have to now investigate the 3 karmas. And what are they? We have Sanchita. Sanchita. Sanchita karma. Do you know what a term deposit is? A term deposit? You put your money in there and you cannot take it out. So Sanchita is like a term deposit. Term deposit of all of your past deeds. They're all there. Whatever you do, whatever consequences are produced from your actions, they go inside the term deposit. Term deposit. So this means from this term deposit, I can only withdraw once. That's called birth. Okay, so this means it's only every life, whether it's an animal or a human being, I only get to withdraw from Sanchita, from my term deposit, one time. And whatever I get is called Prarabdha. So when I reach into my term deposit of all of my karmas, then whatever I get into my hand, assigned for one single life that is to be experienced, we call this Prarabdha, Prarabdha karma.
What I get then when I take it is not by chance.
It's not better?
By chance, incidentally.
It's not incidental?
Random. Just take, and whatever I take, it's not determined.
It's not determined?
Yes. Is it by chance what I get out?
No, there's an order to it. There's an order. So this means if you live a wise life, then you will most likely withdraw, right, and continue this kind of privileged life. So this means if I get born and I start killing around, right, then this will give you a very different form of withdrawal that is more consistent with an animal or a tree or something.
But Andre, does Jiva Srishti influence this, or is it completely Ishvara Srishti?
Jiva Srishti influences your behaviors in life, and your behaviors influence the kind of karma you get. And the karma you get is facilitated by Ishvara. So therefore, Ishvara simply facilitates, gives whatever the Jiva has done.
But for example, a curiosity I just have, when you identify with your body-mind and you die, the unwise person, is what comes after determined by Ishvara and not by Jivas?
No. It's not determined by Ishvara. Thank God it's not. Otherwise, Ishvara now has what? Raga Dvesha. Now they can decide what this person deserves to go to, whatever. You decide. You understand? You are a total decision maker of the life. You decide on the basis of what life you've lived in this life. You're the one that decides. There's a story given by, actually it's probably an inappropriate story, but your actions in this life will determine what kind of a life you live in the next, whether it's a privileged family, whether it's born in an environment where there's no clean water, and then you have to experience the pangs of having dirty water. That is also consistent with the kind of life you live now.
But it's not the fantasies that the Jiva had, it's more like the actions that you put up.
Exactly. So it's not a doing of Ishvara, it is your own doing. So your own doing has created this new body. Just like the body we're having now is a doing of the previous actions we've had in the previous previous incarnation. Okay.
So this life is the most important for the next life, or is it?
Yeah, exactly. So it's this life that really counts the next life. You understand? So it's not like random. Okay, now I'm going to human being. Next life I'm a bird. Okay. So there's remember, this is an order. There's no randomness here. It's an order. And who determines the order? You determine. Your actions determine.
Grace is earned.
Sorry?
That's why they say grace is earned.
Grace is earned. This is it. It's earned. It's earned. It's earned through your own humility, through your own actions. Okay.
Two questions. What about the animals? About they have only papa?
They only exhaust. They only get rid of their papa.
Yeah, but sometimes you have a dog or something when he comes up for. You have stories that there's a family and two kids and they're in danger and the dog helps the kids.
Yeah.
How is that?
Yeah. So good. Excellent. So to be born a dog, see, this means that you didn't have enough privileges to be born a human. Because to be born a human, it's a lot better than to be born a dog. So to be born a dog, that means the majority of the pool from Sanchita was papam. This has to be understood. To be born an animal, the majority of the term deposit from which I withdrew was papam, number one. But now, this jiva, because dog is a jiva also, see, it's not like just papam is withdrawn, it's also some punyam withdrawn. Okay, so this means now, what's the difference between a dog who's born in the slum and a dog who is in a rich family? So now this is also what the dog in a rich family has more punyam than the dog in a slum.
Okay. Depends on what kind of dog
and what kind of dog also, right?
And I have another question. How about if you your thoughts are, I want to be rich, I want to be a lot of money, and then your actions, you're gonna gain that money by doing good actions. Because you can. How is that?
Yeah, good. So the question is, you have a thought, an intention, and then you take actions that are consistent with that intention. So see, you could equally have an intention, I want to make money, but now your actions really determine whether you generate punyam or papam. I can make money selling some illegal stuff, or I can make money contributing. So this means what follows your thought is your path, whether you gain more punyam or more papam. Now this can even turn, see, this is so deep, I tell you. Look at this. There was once a policeman in India who couldn't help it. He had to bribe this, otherwise he would lose his job. This is how it is. You know, if you don't bribe, you're out. And he needed to support his family. So now bribing is technically producing papam. You understand? Because it's an unwise action.
Sorry, what is bribing?
Bribing is, how do you explain bribing?
Corruption.
Corruption, maybe doing something fishy. I don't know how he went, but just bribing something fishy. And this was an honest man. He wants to help his family, but on the other hand, if he doesn't bribe, then he's out. So what does he do? And so he bribed, but 50% of the money he donated to the poor. So this means intelligent. You see, this is not about, be good, be bad. This is nothing, you have to think smart, because the world today almost forces one to engage in papam, if you think about it. It almost forces. So you have to offload that by doing some, what we call prayashchita. That means doing some actions that are in the name of good.
If you don't know that you're doing not good, like you're a soldier and you think, okay, I'm fighting for the good, but later on, it's...
Got it. The most important part is, what was the intention from which you fought? So if the intention from which I fought was to protect my country, never mind the fact that I later on found out I was corrupt. I did my duty. I protected my country. So on that part, the soldier gains what? Punyam, even if they kill people. Because they were doing their part. They were protecting their country. You would think now Arjuna and you got the Pandavas and Kauravas, they have got families. I'm going to kill people with families, and how they're going to be widows. They're not going to have their children. Are going to have just a mother. There's no father. What kind of a society would this have later on? So then, what did Krishna say to Arjuna? Yes, this is initially what it seems like, but your vision doing this is much bigger than what you think of killing these people. The long-term consequences are much bigger than you can understand. So in that same way, never mind if if this person is corrupt or not. I don't know that. I am just doing my duty unknowingly. So therefore, on my part, it is punyam, right? But if later on I discover the whole thing was corrupt and I was lied to, then yes, you will experience what? The emotion consistent with discovering that. So this means it is still some papam on my side. And where does this papam come from? Let's call it your destiny. So it had to be exhausted also. You understand? Because someone else was not in that situation, I was in that situation. So this means even if I discover later on that someone fooled me, I suffer because now I feel guilty. I may feel guilty for the rest of my life. Now you think that's accidental? No. Everything is a perfect order in this universe. So this means on one part I gained punyam, but on the other part now I have to exhaust my papam. And this is, because I was in that situation. I was lied to and I killed people, and there were honest people who I killed. And so I have to now exhaust all of this suffering. And you think that's accidental? No. That has an order also. We may not understand, but there is an order behind that too.
Anyone to translate more exhaustion?
Spend.
How
By doing it. You spend it by living it, yeah. So you spend it, you diffuse it, you get rid of it by doing it. You understand?
And how about the animal, please? You say the animal is exhausting papa.
Yeah, so in other words, the animal is spending all of the consequences, all of the sufferings acquired in the previous life. So all of the negative stuff, right, all of the bad stuff done in the previous life, it has to be lived out. You have to go through the pain of going through that. I've done this and this and this, now I have to go through the pain of experiencing that. And one of the best, the order, what creates an animal body, because an animal is it's how an animal is not treated very nicely at all. So therefore I have to spend my time as an animal to get food, which I can't even think about moksha. I cannot even choose. So I just have to go through this time of being an animal and being kicked around and, being sort of disrespected and looking for food. Oh my God, my whole life becomes about looking for food and fighting with other dogs and fear. So this is all papam. And then as an animal, when I die, that portion of papam has been spent. Understand? So this means I now lived out a life as a jiva and I spend that portion, and now the individual can continue as a human being, the jiva.
How is it with plants? Are they also in that cycle?
Exactly. So they say that the plant has most, believe it or not, plant is born out of most papam. Okay? Animal is born out of less papam, and human being is born out of least papam. So as a plant, you're restricted to just being in one single place, one place. All you can do is just sun, You're in one place, people can cut you off, they can eat you. So as a plant, that is most papam. Animal, a lesser papam. Human being, even lesser papam.
It's also a danger we take this all too subjective. No? It's just
it's an order. It's an order.
Law, and, it's so easy to put value on it, and get sentimental about these things.
Yeah.
It's intriguing. It's a very tricky subject.
It's a very touchy topic.
Otherwise, the whole country in Africa, the whole populations are born in natural disastrous situations or in war situations.
It's a very deep topic, and even if you get born in,
don't know not so much not about this topic, no. Also,
and even if you get born in a city, even then, you're born in one culture. But now it's, so it's collective karma. We call it collective karma, where we all have to share a war in a country. We all have to share a war in a country. We all have to share COVID. This is global karma. But then even within COVID, there are those who actually die and those who, get sick and don't die. So this is also now what, exhausting karma, and some who are in a luckier situation. This is called punyam, a luckier situation whereby you can afford to wear a mask. You can afford to, to clean the air in the house. You can afford to, to sort of have your own room. Some people didn't even have a room to share. You see? So now, even within a collectively shared, there is an individual, individual punya papa that's involved, individual luck factor involved.
But Andre, does the Vedas say something about that when a normal jiva dies, it sees the truth for a moment, that everything is one, but there's a pull towards identifying again with the mind or something? I heard this story.
There's a Purana called, starts with A, Ganapati. It talks about the death process. Now the question was, does the Jiva see the moment of truth? I don't know where is this from. It doesn't say this in the Veda. What happens is, the Jiva, it's naked, like a naked soul. Now, all of the things that I've done, there's no one to hide to. I'm completely, naked. So I see now where, what I've done and what I've not done. And on the basis of that, then, I get the right body. Now, it's not even a process of seeing what I've done or not done. It's just automatic. You get the kind of body that you think you deserve.
You have to go back. I read a book about nearly death experience, and then those people see it clearly, but they have to go back in this life to because, and that is about the karma.
Yeah, remember this, you cannot see the truth. The truth is, you are the truth. So this person who sees, it began in time. So whatever they saw may be a symbol of the truth, but it's not the truth, because truth does not obtain with its nityam. So there's no question of them seeing the truth.
But a further short question, you said they get the body they think they deserve, but there's not really a question of thinking, because
exactly.
Hitler thinks he did right, and he dies.
Yeah, they get the body they deserve. See, this is a statement that the ego doesn't like to hear. You always get what you deserve. You get what you deserve. It's like, no, how dare you? Do you understand? My mom, my dad, my brothers and sisters, they're suffering, and you say this so easily. This is the truth. You get what you deserve. This is a fact.
Can a human become an animal in life after?
Yeah. See. Now this is. You cannot exhaust your karma, because how long have you been here? Beginningless time. So now, even if you work out your human stuff, and so what does this mean? If I was already a bird, if I was already all sorts of different jivas before, even if I exhaust my human life now, this means I'm still yet to exhaust my bird, because I have a desire to fly, I have a desire. Suppose you have a desire to fly or something. So this means, you still have to exhaust the karma of flying, which was started cycles and cycles of creation ago. So human beings constantly change between a human being body, a plant body, and an animal body, a microbe, amoeba body. In fact, you and I were animals, when this world evolved. There was, the evolution slowly, and now we have gained this physical body finally.
So, when you die and you have the desire to fly,
yeah, not a desire. It's not like you're going to desire, and then die, and then suddenly you get into a bird. It's just that you will already see a bird. You have to ask, what kind of a punya papa mixture is required to have a bird? Because the kind of body you get is always a product of punya papa mixture. How much punya, how much papa? So this is called your prarabdha, the kind of the deposit. What have I taken out of my term deposit? So this means this means you will already, every single possible creature imaginable. In this life, you just happen to be what? A human being. Why are you a human being in this life, not an animal? Because it implies whatever was done in the previous life, there's two options. Either there was an animal who exhausted its papam, or a human being who's now carrying on this life right now. Now, look at this. Can we prove any of this?
No.
This is the one part of the Veda that you can only go by the authority of the Veda. You cannot prove it. The only thing that we can show is the logic that how do you explain those who are privileged and non-privileged? How do you explain a kid who is highly privileged, born in a fantastic family, and those who are born in an alcoholic family? The only explanation is it is on the basis of something that happened before. And this before we call Sanchita. So this means whatever was in my term deposit, I taken out of that, and this is what I get. Now, why did I get what I got? Because the same doer, the enjoyer who's now, was the doer back then. So the enjoyer here, the person now, is the doer back then at some other life. Otherwise, if you don't put karma, then what happens? Then only what? One option. God is sadistic. He assigns. This one will suffer, this one will enjoy, this one will gain moksha, this one will not. That's the only other option. Now, how can I trust this kind of creator?
I think it's random, and it's like with the chaos theory that scientists use. That's where they get this idea from. It's random. It's a chaos without the karma.
Yeah, exactly. It's random. It's like, but we don't experience anything random in our life. There's a perfect 1-to-1 ratio between the doer's action and the kind of results that come. Do you ever receive any kind of results that you have no clue? You say, I don't deserve this. Well, actually you do, don't you? Like I would say, I don't deserve this because we don't remember. You understand? So if someone's suffering, believe it or not, if they're going through a hard time in this life, believe it or not, it's not like, oh, poor person. There is a factor of this is how it is, because you're experiencing the consequences of some moments, some life of things which you don't remember, the kind of actions you've done. Understand? So by definition, no one's suffering is unjustified. All suffering is justified on the basis of what kind of actions you have done before. So now let me move on. So what do we have? Sanchita, term deposit. Now if you change your name, are you relieved of all of your historical records? No. So this means you can change your name, your body, everything, all you want. It doesn't relieve you of your history, of your track record. So this is Sanchita. Even if we change, we're still receiving the same, whoever that person other was, we're receiving their stuff right now. Prarabdha is reaching into the Sanchita, taking out a portion, and this portion is lived and it's experienced how? As it will give you experiences. It will fashion your body, it will fashion your mind, it will fashion how you are, the kind of person, strong, small, big, music, good at music, good at certain skills. All of this, your entire personality, right now, all of your strengths and weaknesses are a combination of the kind of withdrawal that has been taken out, and this withdrawal is called Prarabdha. Okay, Prarabdha, and it has to be experienced, and it will give you a mixture of joys and sufferings in this life. And then we have Agami. What is Agami karma? Well, when I withdraw, obviously I'm going to experience, but in my experiencing, what am I going to do? I'm going to apply new actions, and therefore those new actions will now produce new consequences. And when will those consequences spill back into Sanchita? Understand? So I take out of Sanchita, I experience. In my experiencing, obviously you're applying more actions, those actions are producing more consequences. And where are those consequences flowing back into? Back into your term deposit. Therefore, next life, whatever I withdraw from my term deposit is consistent with the kind of actions I've done in this life. So it's a cycle.
But the Gita also says when we get on this way of knowledge, even if we don't get this life, but we're on this path, and we make sincere efforts, you stay on the path.
You will stay on this because you will generate what we call impressions. This is why in your next life you have two kids, two twins. One twin is innocently attracted to music, one is innocently attracted to Gita chanting. Where did that come from? That's a strong impression that you developed in this life. Therefore, so what's the conclusion? So the adhikari strives to get out of these three karmas. The person, the adhikari wants to get out. Why? Because of this cycle. Now, what is this discovery? When you discover who you are, what happens now? Your Sanchita and your Agami and your Prarabdha, they're instantly disowned. Instantly disowned because they're not mine. They belong to the person called Andre. They do not belong to me. So now how are they disowned? So what does it mean to disown? So what does this mean? The only thing that will relieve you from karma is what? Understanding that whoever did these actions, or whoever acquired this punya papam, right, was not me. That's the only thing that will relieve you from karma, therefore birth and death. You cannot exhaust it because it's infinite. You cannot do anything about it because any action will only put more into your bank deposit. Even good actions will just produce a better body. It's still rebirth. So now, let's see, next page, we don't need to read. What about, now it says, next page, it starts with Jnanotpatti Anantaram. Jnanotpatti Anantaram. Jnanotpatti Anantaram. So what does this mean? So after the dawn of knowledge, so this is back to the wise person now. After the dawn of knowledge, what happens? Now, it says here, what is Agami karma? I discussed already. Whatever goes back into your Sanchita, that will be experienced next life. You understand? So whatever actions I do in this life, whatever consequences are produced in this life, those consequences are called Agami. So where does Agami go? Into Sanchita. And Sanchita will be experienced. This much we know. But that is for an ignorant person. What about a wise person? So it says the wise person's Agami starts at the dawn of knowledge. So when you have knowledge take place, when there's knowledge, like I'm free of this. So what happens? What happens to all of your previous, Agami that spilled into Sanchita? That is disowned. That's not mine. But the jnani's body still continues to live. I'm still walking, stepping on ants. I'm still stepping on your toes by accident. And the jnani still does good things in this world. So this means they're still generating actions. So that much, those actions which a wise person does, that much they will experience. No more, no less. Whatever is spilled over, because the body is, whatever is spilled over, that will not be experienced. Why? Because Sanchita is not mine, Agami is not mine, Prarabdha is not mine. So this means, the jnani's Agami, they will still produce, right? Through their, to teach this is technically supposed to be punyam. To step on ants is supposed to be papam, right? So this means whoever is wise, they too will experience suffering and pain relative to what actions they do in life. But no more, no less than that. Okay. And then Sanchita. What is Sanchita? Sanchitam karma kim. Sanchita karma kim. I think we answered this already. Sanchita is the all of the karmas collected from countless births. Just your term deposit, and it stores your karma pala. So all of the results of your actions, where would those results that did not fructify? All of those results of actions that do not fructify, where are they stored? In Sanchita karma. So when they're not, suppose I, step on someone's toes, and and I have no consequences, or some, we have more extreme, a rapist who gets away with it, and they die. You think they're going to be relieved from that? No. Where did all of those those consequences, where are they stored? In Sanchita. So Sanchita is nothing but a mixture of punya and papa. Understand? Virtuous deeds and non-virtuous deeds. So out of that, Sanchita, a mixture of punya, papa is taken and assigned to one body, and that body is a product of the kind of Sanchita that I have taken. Understand? So this means your life is consistent with the kind of withdrawal that has taken place from the past life's actions. Now, Prarabdha kim. Prarabdha karma kim iti chet. Prarabdha karma kim iti chet. So karma, so what is this karma? It created this body, your prarabdha, the withdrawal has created your body, and it gives you what? Suffering and pain. Some people, they go through more or less suffering, sore back, or they're sick all the time. And you're like, my God, why am I sick all the time? I can't help myself. This is punyam. Some people, I tell you, they have they have such an amazing life, It's like always happy, surrounded by kids, surrounded by family and support, and everyone likes them, and you're like, what's going on here? Everyone likes them, they're so lucky. This is because they have withdrawn, they have so much punyam, okay, from previous life. So this means the only way to exhaust your prarabdha is how? In the verse it says, by going through the experience. So look at this now. That's easy. We already know this. But here's the thing. This means every time you suffer, you're exhausting your papam. That means less chance of suffering. But every time we're happy, we're exhausting our punyam. Oh, so this means what? We start out very happy as kids, right? Happy, 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 so much punyam. And then what? Some kids, they abuse every situation to extract maximum punyam out of their life as youngsters. They go to parties, and they just do all of the things and roller coasters. And then what happens when they're older? Punyam exhausted, what? So look at this order. So this means, this is why they say in like Tao Te Ching, living in harmony, living not abusing, never going to the extreme. Otherwise, we exhaust all of this chance for happiness later on in life. Okay, and again, Prarabdha does not go away even after liberation. Why not? Because it is Ishvara Srishti or Jiva Srishti? Ishvara Srishti, like the sunrise, sunset. This is why the wise person will continue to receive pain and all the goodness in life, just like anyone else. Because awareness has no control. It's not like awareness is going to stop. It is Ishvara's creation. And therefore, one's life continues. Now, okay, good, we're on time. So what happens now to what happens to karma of a realized person? Where does it go? Next verse. Sanchitam karma, sanchitam karma, brahmaivaham iti, brahmaivaham iti. Okay. So the question is posed, this wise person also has Sanchita, Prarabdha and Agami. And what happens to this Sanchita? It is nishchaya, so what? So by clear knowledge, it is instantly disowned. So there's no more owner of all of this term deposit, because the term deposit is what? Ishvara Srishti, it is not Atman. Atman is just the illumining factor which has illuminated this person going through its ups and downs. So this means Sanchita is disowned. In other words, I am who? I am no longer a karta, I am a akarta. You know, I before was a doer, now I am not a doer. Even who's teaching now? I am not teaching, Andre is teaching. So in other words, what? I am not the doer is Ishvara Srishti. This is God's order that is working right now. Okay? And what happens to Agami? Jnani's Agami. Agami karma api. Agami karma api. So, as we said, jnanis, punya papam, right, the sufferings and the pleasures of life, they continue like for anyone else. However, you know what, the actions that are performed after moksha, whatever actions are performed after moksha, they are basically what, just actions that are going back into Sanchita. But nobody is going to own that Sanchita. So therefore, the jnani is relieved of whatever. They cannot even get a body, even if they do good stuff anymore. So this means they can now go and help people, they can go and teach, they can go and do all of the good things in the world. They can no longer receive a body. So therefore, the benefit is not going to the jnani, the benefit is going where? Or it's not going anywhere. It's just disowned. There's no owner to claim it anymore. And therefore, it says, Nalini Dalagata Jalavat, his or her actions are like a water that comes onto a lotus leaf. You know what happens? It just slips away. So his or her actions, they do not get absorbed, they just slide off what? Teflon. It's called awareness. They slide off Teflon. It's like Teflon. They slide off because awareness is free. It's attributeless, and therefore self, the nature of self being awareness, nothing really sticks onto me. So they just slide off like water on a lotus leaf. And now next page. Kincha ye jnaninam. Kincha ye jnaninam. Felix, I just want to let you know if you need to go.
No.
Okay. Understand. So now what? So where does the jnani's punyam go? Yeah. So we said the punyam and the papam, no one to claim that. This is established. However, who gets jnani's punyam now? If the jnani cannot, Jivanmukta cannot get any punyam, then where does this punyam go? Because there's no such thing as, things disappearing. When I said no one's there to claim, well, someone has to claim it because, you cannot take existence out of existence. You have to bring it somewhere. And what does it say? Those who worship, those who praise him, those who do service unto him or her, gender is irrelevant, those who just help, do service, worship, who honor, because what? The jnani is what? they're compared to the Lord, basically. They're compared to the Lord. And so therefore, those who admire and worship him or her gain their punya karma. This is why in India, what do? We want to, when a Swami comes over, you touch their feet, you want to extract every ounce of punyam from them because, I tell you, people understand this, culturally they understand this, because they know the Swami, they don't need any punyam, but they got so much punyam because of teaching, right, and whatever they're doing. But so now, those, they comment, let me have your punyam, please, let me have your punyam. So this is why people do service. This is why they do, honor and, they have these, doing service for these people. So there's a logic, there's a cultural, knowership behind it, yeah. Whereas, where does the papam go? Now so suppose the jnani commits some sin. Where does that sin go? Well, equally to those who criticize him, those or her, those who do that, who hurt just for no reason, who cause pain to him or her, who just kind of talk behind their back. So this means now one doesn't have to worry about this, because in most cases, a jnani is mature enough not to do these stupid things. So therefore, there's not much papam to go around. But in terms of punyam, this is, that's obviously there, because they say what teaching, this is knowledge, is supposed to be the highest punyam ever. Why? Because you're teaching someone, you're letting them discover their limitlessness. Everything else, you're showing people how to gain a little bit. Whereas when we talk about, this knowledge, we're showing We're showing each other how to gain limitlessness. Therefore, by definition, it's supposed to have the highest punyam. But this highest punyam, cannot go anywhere. And who does it go to? Those who just sort of, uphold the tradition and help these teachers and help this tradition to prosper. Who protect it? Simple like that. Who protect it? And then what? Iha. Okay, next verse. Tatha chatmavit samsaram. Tatha chatmavit samsaram. So in this manner, now knowing about these karmas, the Atmavit, right? Atmavit. Yeah, so Cha Atmavit, so the knower of Atma, the knower of one's nature, what happens? They cross over samsara. Why? Because, what's samsara? Life of becoming. Becoming this. Why do they cross the life of samsara? Because they have disowned the three karmas. Just like, suppose there's a husband and he's got three wives. This is possible, right? A husband with three wives. And you have the oldest wife, who he married in 1970. The next wife he married in 1980. And the newest wife, he married in 1990. So now he has three wives. And this father, one wife is called, the oldest one is called Sanchita wife. The next wife is called Prarabdha wife. And the newest wife is called Agami wife. And so the husband dies. What happens instantly to all three wives? They become widows. Does Sanchita have special privileges over the Agami wife? No. Instantly, they're all disowned at once because there's no more owner to claim them. Therefore, their status is now, their status is not connected to anyone anymore. So this means, like this, the wise person, divorced his three wives, his three husbands or three wives. And then what happens? Through this knowledge, they attain moksha. And now when? Iha, it says, iha in the verse, in this world. So look at the implications of this. Moksha is always now, it's never later. Suppose that you say, I want to get moksha in heaven. And you get moksha in heaven. Now, is that getting now? You see, it is now, right? But it's just at heaven. So if that getting is now, then moksha by definition is always now. There is no question of later. Because I want a different place. Why? Just, this is the perfect place for this environment. So therefore, moksha is gained iha in this world. In fact, you cannot gain moksha anywhere else except on Bhuloka. So this is, great news. Even though they would say, right, after what, you got this whole, you go to Brahmaloka, right, and then you learn this knowledge there. You cannot prove this anyway, and this is called krama mukti, right? Krama mukti, when you attain this self-knowledge in Brahmaloka. In fact, it is harder to attain moksha there than here, because to go to Brahmaloka, the highest world, you have to do rituals from day one. Right? You got to do your chantings for hours and hours and do all of your dharma conduct. Forget about it. Okay, so this means the only place is iha, in this world, and when is moksha? It's always now. Even if you go to Brahmaloka, you're going to gain that now. So it's always a now. And therefore, good, we just finished. Therefore, what happens when a Jivanmukta dies? So, Tanum, Kashi, see, they're going to say Kashi here. Okay. So what is Kashi? See, there's a place in Benares, right, Benares, Kashi, in India, where it's considered holy. Just like a Ganga, there's many holy places. You've got holy places all over the place. Doesn't matter, just in India. And it's considered that if you go there, your papams fall away. Okay, so this is a belief. You have beliefs. This is why it's in a context of a belief. Some people believe that you can do bad deeds and just go to some Ganga, go to Kashi, and just spend some time there, and all of your deeds suddenly walk away. You go back to your country, and your criminal record is magically raised. This is a belief.
It's like the Catholic Church, where you
pay it.
I tell you, there are beliefs everywhere. We've got Western beliefs, they've got Indian, Eastern beliefs. Now, there's another belief that says what? The perfect time to die, you got to postpone your death, by the way. The perfect time to die is what's called Uttarayana. What's Uttarayana? That's a month between mid-January to mid-July. That's the most conducive time to die, by the way. So this means if you want to die in December, you need to hold your death, right? Make sure you die between January and July. And then it goes even further. They say not only that, but there's a specific time of the month to die, and we call this, what do you call this? What Paksha, something, Sthula Paksha, or what is it called? Shukla Paksha, right? So now when you have the moon, right? When there's no moon in the sky, we call this what? The new moon, right? I just call it no moon. So from the time of no moon to full moon, when it's fully shining, that 15-day period is called Shukla Paksha. So this means the best time to die is Uttarayana, between January and July, when it's Shukla Paksha, when you've got this period of the moon. In fact, Bhishma in Bhagavad Gita was waiting for these two periods to die. Now, maybe there's some truth. I don't know. But if I logically analyze it, it's borderline kind of, it doesn't make sense. If you got papam, you got papam, there's no escape. No escape when you die. So this is more of a belief. I will just say no more than that. Maybe there's some logic there, but from my rational standpoint, it's just another belief. So
maybe in the wait, you have to, when you're dying, but you have to wait. You can absorb all that papam. It feels like quite hard to wait for your death
Yeah.
At that time, you can always go through all the problem and then you die.
And if you're unlucky, also
And if
make a
you're
lot of
lucky,
problem.
yeah, everyone can die.
Okay, so now what does the verse want to say? Whether you die as a Jivanmukta, whether you die as in this auspicious time, as we described, or in a dog eater's house. Dog eaters, this is considered the lowest of men because a dog is your best friend. So the one who eats their best friend is considered the lowest of men. So whether the Jivanmukta dies with cross-legged, on the bed, in this auspicious time, in an inauspicious time, by the Ganga, on the mountain, alone, with someone, whatever condition they die, in whatever condition it happens, it makes no difference to them. They are still free. That means it's not going to affect their death. It's not going to affect what happens, quote, after. So this means a Jivanmukta can die however they wish to die. It makes no difference. Okay? Whereas an unwise person, they can believe they're going to die better. It may make some difference, I don't know. But so Jivanmukta, it makes no difference.
But for example, suicide means you have a wrong eye placed somewhere. Because otherwise,
Do what?
if you commit suicide,
Yeah.
that means you have the eye in the wrong place. Because
Okay.
normally it wouldn't bother a wise person.
You see, this can get a little tricky because you can also have a situation where, sometimes suppose you're in such a situation that there's no point living, right? It's such a terrible situation that, I would rather not cause problems to other people. It makes sense to end one's life. This is also another aspect to it. So, when it comes to these things, there's always a reason why it happens. But it doesn't mean that the eye is in the wrong place necessarily. Yeah. Even though you could justify that and say that, hey, if you're free, you just want to help, right? You want to do the best that you can. But life is so complex, I tell you, it presents us with a million different situations that we just cannot put categorically who's committing suicide and who's not committing. Yeah. Okay. So therefore, for a jnani, they die, however, they are free. They are free permanently. And thus, what concludes this session, this course. And one thing that I haven't mentioned is devatas. Devatas I held, very easy to understand this, very easy. See, now, if I shake your hand, you're an inventor of something, you invented something, right? And I walk over and I shake your hand. Did your hand invent? Suppose you invent electricity. You invent electricity or whatever, and I just want to congratulate you, right? Like and I walk over, congratulations. Did that hand that I'm shaking? Did that hand invent electricity? No. What invented electricity? Yeah. Okay. But in reference to the person, the mind. Okay. The indweller. The indweller who is free, who lives inside this hand. So the only way I can relate to the indweller, to that intelligence which discovered something is how? Through physical contact. By shaking your hand, I'm shaking the entirety of you. I'm not shaking your physical hand. You understand? So the only way I can acknowledge your intelligence is how? By some physical contact. Okay. So now, like this, Ishvara, being the total cause, the intelligence of this universe, this Ishvara obtains through as different laws and orders, such as the sun. Now, what is the sun? We think this is just what? When you look at the sun, is it just nitrogen, helium, and nitrogen and fusion? It does a lot more than that, I tell you. Not only it gives life, but it also does what? It produces your eyes. If there was no light, there will be no physical eyes. So this means that intelligence not only has created the sun to give life, but by definition, that intelligence is associated with your physical eyes, that which makes seeing possible. Which is why in the Vedas, we have things like Aditya Hridayam, a prayer where I worship the sun to improve my vision, which apparently has worked for some people. So therefore, now the sun or these different physical objects, I relate with them just like I'm relating with your hand. But what I'm actually relating with is what? The nimitta karanam, which is responsible for a certain facet of creation that makes it work and is also responsible for some function in this world. So this means when I pray to devatas, what am I invoking? I'm invoking facets of this intelligence responsible for different aspects of life. In the case of the sun, what am I invoking? The intelligence which gave what my eyes, which gave me possibility for sight. Therefore, so now what the verses are saying is what deities are there to be worshipped. There's something called a fire deity. So what is fire deity? It is the intelligence through which I can relate, like physical fire, I can relate. But behind that fire, the intelligence is that which is responsible for your speech. And what is a fire? How your speech produces heat, right? When you speak, it also throws light to matters. Therefore, the deity for speech is fire. And then we have what? We have the mind. The deity for your mind and your emotions is the moon. This is pretty obvious, right? So, when the moon comes out, emotions change, your mind changes. And then we have what? Brahmaji, this is for intellect, and we have things like Vishnu for memory. So this means if you want a good memory, then what does the Veda prescribe? It says, here's a certain mantra, here's a certain ritual for invoking Vasudeva or Vishnu, Devata, who is responsible for your memory. Okay? So this is just to be understood as different facets of reality. It's not like even if you consider them as real devatas, this is fine. But the thing is, why do we have a hard time relating to these devatas? Do you know why? Because your mind and my mind are so small, we cannot even comprehend the vastness of this creation. Just like a bird lands on a tree, and to a bird, that tree is nothing but a source of food. And yet that tree is complex. It is a life of itself. It is living itself. Or a bacteria in your stomach, it doesn't know about you. Its mind cannot comprehend you at all. It is so small, even no matter how hard it tries, it cannot grasp the intelligence, the entire being in which it rests. So in that same way, our minds have a hard time relating to devatas, different facets of these intelligences that are responsible for running our world. White blood cell devata, we've got enzyme devata, sperm devata. All of these are facets of intelligence to which we, for the sake of relating, we call devata. We call God or goddesses. Okay, so this means this concludes our Tattva Bodha, and then we will close, and then we'll have a little discussion. Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Avashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.